Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and this is my husband Drew. And on this channel we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church and do commentary on the goings on in evangelical Christianity. Today we're going to be talking about the world of Christian fitness influencers and about how it's gotten a little bit out of hand.
Yeah,
just
it's
a
a little
bit.
wild. We need to reel it in a bit.
Right off the bat here, we do want to clarify who we're talking about when it comes to Christian fitness influencers, because we're not talking about people on Instagram that happen to be Christian and post their workouts and might put a little Bible verse in the description or somehow tie their fitness to their faith. We're not talking about those people. Who we are talking about is the people, the influencers who Christianity is part of the branding for them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will either use fitness as a vehicle to evangelize, or they'll use the Christian rhetoric in order to sell people on their fitness courses.
Right.
Those are the people we're talking about. We're not just talking about your...
Christians who like to work out.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Not a problem with that at all. And we also do want to specify that we're not making fun of anyone's appearance with this at all.
You'll spot us not doing that in this video.
We will not be doing that. And we're not saying that fitness or working out is bad. We're not super into like that world ourselves, but we're not like hating on anybody for being into that. Before we dive into this though, I did want to mention that if you are someone that likes to work out a lot and you work out as much as these influencers do, then you're probably going to get a little bit stinky and a little rank.
Okay.
Which can be remedied by using the service from the sponsor of today's video, Scentbird. You guys all know that I love Scentbird and have been using their service for a long time now. I do love myself a luxury fragrance, but my secret is I will never pay full price for a perfume. And Scentbird is a great way to try out designer fragrances without paying an arm and a leg. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription where you can choose a new fragrance every single month for just $17. They have over 700 different fragrances that you can choose from high-end brands like Versace, Prada, and Gucci to indie brands like Confessions of a Rebel, Heretic, and Skylar. I've really enjoyed experimenting with different perfumes and finding ones that I end up falling in love with, and I know you guys will too. Every month you'll receive a 30-day supply of the fragrance of your choice, and Scentbird also offers flexible plans, and you can cancel or skip a month at any time. On top of all of this, you guys can use my code, the Antibot, and get 55% off Scentbird, which comes out to just a little over $7 for your first month. And my subscription this month, I received Blue Atlas by Atlantis, and I absolutely love this fragrance. It actually reminds me a lot of Bali, which is a location where my family used to vacation a lot in Indonesia. And this fragrance was actually inspired by Bali's coastal jungles. The notes are bergamot, lemon, blackcurrant, lavender, and clary sage. You'll also receive this magnetic case for your fragrances, which I think is just a really sleek and very portable design. The second fragrance I received this month was the One for Men by Dolce & Gabbana, and the notes on this one are amber, tobacco, ginger, grapefruit, and cardamom. Even though this one is for men, I would still wear it. I love the smell of cardamom and ginger. And the third fragrance I received this month was Jaipur Chant by Sana Jardin, and the notes on this one are lemon, tuberose, jasmine, narcissus, and synthetic musk. As someone who doesn't consume animal products, I'm really glad it's a synthetic musk and not a real musk. Again, you can use my coupon code, the Antibot, and get 55% off Scentbird. Thank you so much, Scentbird. Now back to the video. I watch Cornhub. I fear God.
Oh, God. Oh, that one's painful. Wow.
Is this like a semen retention thing?
I was wondering that too.
Because I don't understand. I watch Cornhub. I mean, why is he all nerdy and like scrawny and skinny looking? Like, what's the correlation between people watching Pornhub and being like weak? I don't think there's any sort of like connection
No,
there.
I don't think there is. I mean, maybe it could be a semen retention thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty popular now among like even like gym guys, I guess, and Christian guys. But I could also see it working in the, I'm trying to portray a bad person that you don't want to be, someone that watches porn, and that's someone that's small and physically weak. Which it's like, what's wrong with being small and physically weak? There are people who are just like that.
Yeah.
That does not mean their moral character is lesser than yours or you're better than them by being bigger. I mean, if you think that, you're a bad person.
And there are people that fear God, are very strong Christians, very devout, and are still going to be smaller.
Yeah,
like that's
fine.
just reality.
God loves them the same as you if you believe in that kind of thing.
I also, when I first watched this, I thought it was really weird how in the second clip he has a ski mask for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why before he showed his face, and in the second clip he doesn't want to show his face. And he actually sells clothing. So these like ski masks with these crosses on them are a thing that he sells. Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Cool, man. And also, why are your shorts like hiked up a little bit on that one side? I think he really wanted to show off his tattoos or something.
So I guess that's cool, but it is, again, like, why is this obvious vanity suddenly a more Christian thing to do than less? I mean, I do think that it is partially the influence of social media. I mean, Christians can either be gimmicky like this, kind of do a sex sells thing like this, or they can fall behind when it comes to clicks.
Yeah.
I think that's my theory for why this kind of thing exists.
think that completely makes sense. And I also think that this guy who's like obviously thirst trapping, which like just be for real. Like, you're thirst trapping. That's fine. You can do that. You don't need to make it like, oh, I fear God, I'm so religious thing.
Yeah.
Like, just be honest about it. But this same guy that does this type of stuff, if he saw a woman on Instagram that was equally thirst trapping, showing off her like physique after a workout, and she's wearing a crop top, sports bra, something like that, he would say, oh, she's like being like a whore.
Yeah, she's someone that watches Pornhub, obviously.
Like she doesn't fear God, you know? So it's like, what's with the double standards here? Drinking, partying, and depressed. Focusing on God and my health. Again, with the thirst trap.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
The message is kind of, I mean, there's more than one message, but one of the messages is fearing God will make you hot. You should totally do it. Look how hot I am now.
Well, and it's like you can be drinking and partying and depressed and still be jacked.
That's true.
I know it's probably harder. The drinking part's probably harder to be super jacked if you're drinking a lot, but it's possible. Yeah. Definitely know people that do that. So like, again, I don't understand the correlation here. It's not making sense.
Something that I'm seeing here is he's saying that he went from this very disorganized, undisciplined life where he was just trying to seek a certain type of pleasure all the time to going to a life where he had more discipline and tried to be stricter on himself. And he's like suggesting the latter option was better for me, which if that's the case, that's great. I mean, I do think that personally, like for me, I like living a lot more of a disciplined life for myself than like drinking and partying. I don't like.
You're not like a drinker or a partier.
Yeah, I don't do that. But I do think it's possible to not be drinking and partying and to have a stricter, more disciplined life where you are protecting your mental health a little bit better without the God part. The God part can be a part of it, and I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Just from seeing this guy's other content, I do know that he does in fact say, this is the only option. This is the only way that you can like be clean and healthy and this is the only valid way to live, period. It worked for me, therefore everyone has to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's when it becomes the problem. If he's saying, this worked for me, and maybe it would work for you. If it doesn't, whatever, this is just an option. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but that's not what he's saying. This is the only way to be hot and successful.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that in his like before video where he's drinking and partying and depressed, the clip is of him working out. Like if you're trying to show your before of the life that was like totally out of control, wouldn't you show something that looks a little bit more out of control instead of you being kind of disciplined and trying to work out even if you're not in the shape that you would like to be?
Yeah, I think the point is he included a workout clip where he was not as chiseled, as wasn't as toned as the second one, which implies to someone spending literally just 5 seconds watching this video that, oh, fearing God is better, makes you hotter, makes you more chiseled.
Best way to evangelize is to be attractive. If you're out of shape, people care less about what you have to say. Like out of shape priests during their homilies, guys, it's very true. Catholic guys tell me on the phone, they don't take it as seriously. You know you've put off getting a gym membership. So today is the day we stop procrastinating, go to the gym, and start practicing what we preach.
Okay, wow. Saying the quiet part out loud. That's what he's doing. I mean, it's pretty common for, apologists and evangelist guys to be super jacked.
Yeah.
But I think that it's more of an unspoken thing that we're trying to be large and kind of intimidating and also attractive to other men, by the way.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's not women who like big jack guys. It's guys that like big jack guys. But we're trying to be attractive to sell the gospel better. But he's just coming out and saying it.
Yeah, usually they have some other rationalization for why they're like that. I feel like the one that I most commonly hear is that they're treating their body like a temple, like it says in scripture.
Yeah.
And they're providing an example to other people on how you can do that. So I think that's how they rationalize it. But I think underneath the surface, it really is more about, oh, if I look attractive, if I look big and muscular, people are going to take me more seriously, because I think that is something that's been kind of pushed in our society, that specifically men who are tall and muscular are somehow better at leadership or deserve more respect and attention, even if they might not necessarily be qualified for the position that they're in, because they look a certain way. People just automatically think that they're, know what they're doing, when a lot of the time they really don't.
It's also kind of an evolutionary thing, right? Like back in tribal days, maybe we would have thought that a big, very strong man would make a good leader because the main thing we're dealing with is physical threats to our safety. And, that's not even the case in most tribal societies, actually. But sometimes that is a thing, and we may have inherited that kind of thinking from back then to now. So now we naturally see somebody who's 6'5", and we're like, oh, that's a good leader. Big biceps, that's a good leader. But realistically, being strong, being big has no bearing on whether or not you're a good leader, whether you should be listened to today, right?
I mean, when you're sitting in your cubicle working your 9 to 5, how is that going to help you?
Yeah.
Like in today's day and age, I don't really think that that's much of an advantage.
Right. Your giant biceps and pecs will never do the work of a computer. So
yeah. I also think, what does this say about your religious message if it almost requires that its messenger be attractive and stereotypically attractive in order for this message to be effective? What does that say? Because I think a lot of Christians would say that the gospel message stands on its own and that it's self-evident. But if you're having to kind of put this shiny wrapping paper around it in order to actually sell it to anybody, clearly it's not self-evident. You need something else in order to get people to buy in on it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, this is kind of doing him a disservice.
It may make insincere converts in a way.
Yeah, I think it makes insincere converts. And it also kind of, I think, shows that he, at some level, knows that it's kind of a weak message. I don't know.
Maybe my biggest problem with this was actually that he's saying that Catholic men don't take their priest seriously if he's not muscular and attractive.
Yeah.
Like they don't listen to those men as well. That's a them problem. That's not a problem with the priest. I mean, sure, maybe it's good to be healthy, but there's a really big difference between being healthy and being jacked. And it doesn't affect the quality of someone's message if they're out of shape.
Right.
The message should stand on its own. I don't really know why he's not calling out the real problem of a bunch of men are judging the spiritual fortitude of other men based on whether or not they envy their muscles.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's kind of like he's identifying a real problem that exists. I think that a lot of men do only take other men if they take other men seriously if they look a certain way.
Yeah.
He's identifying that problem, but then he's trying to fix it in completely the wrong way that almost reinforces the problem. I think that you should teach everybody that you should judge people based off of like the content of what they have to say and not how they look on the outside.
Right.
One last final point with this one. I think that he might think being physically attractive and physically threatening are kind of synonymous, because a lot of the things that he's suggesting men do have to do with looking threatening. You know, he's telling you to get really jacked and muscular, and it's almost like he wants men to look like they can fight somebody off.
Yeah.
And like, I don't necessarily think that that's attractive. Like, attraction is subjective. Like, what people find attractive is subjective. And so I don't think it's really about like being physically attractive. I think it's more about being threatening looking.
So a lot of Catholic men think that I'm too like vain when I talk about the physical or the emotional stuff. And I just want to state for the record, I don't care about vanity. All I care about is influence. Like, how do we influence people to say yes to Christ? It's kind of my obsession. So here's what I want to say. Whenever you're getting someone to say yes to a belief system, whether that's in sales or management or religion, the way that people break their belief systems is based completely on emotion. It's never based on reason. Even if you think you did it for a reason, even if you think you did it logically, you did it to feel a different way. And so that's why I focus so much on the things that aren't reason and logic, like how you look, how you act, and how you present yourself. Because that is what's going to get your foot in the door to evangelize people. And if you're a Catholic man and you want help with this is what I talk about in my content, so you can save and follow for more.
Wow, again, saying the quiet part out loud, yeah. The fact that he's saying that people convert for emotional reasons, I mean, it does line up to a certain degree. That's like a way of stating what the data kind of does suggest about why people convert to certain religious belief systems or change their mind about that. I think, again, this is something that a lot of apologists know, but they wouldn't say that because it makes their side look bad. It makes it look like people convert for emotional reasons, and that's okay. That's fine. We're okay with people just emotionally wanting to follow the gospel and believing in God just because they feel like it, rather than having this real intellectual, logic-based conviction about it.
Yeah. I think also what struck me about this is that he's comparing getting people into Christianity to like sales and marketing. And I don't think that those two things are really that comparable, because
I hope not, yeah.
deciding to convert to a religion is like a really, really big decision, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Especially for Christians like him, your entire life is going to revolve around your faith.
Yeah.
All the decisions you make are going to be influenced by your faith. It's going to impact so many different aspects of your life. It's a very, very big decision.
Yeah.
It's not the same as like picking up a candy bar at the like checkout aisle,
right.
It's like, it's not the same thing as sales. Like, there's a lot more importance that's placed on this. And so I don't think that, or I would think that when you're making that kind of decision, you're going to consider more than just emotion.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can't completely separate emotion from your decisions. You cannot be like 100% logical and reasonable all the time. That's just not really possible. But I would think when you're making such a big decision that you're going to say to yourself, like, hey, I need to look at the evidence for this, or consider whether or not you're making this decision purely off of like the emotion of the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, I just don't understand why he's comparing these things.
And kind of encouraging people to make emotion-based decisions on something that's way more important than like buying a car.
And kind of rash decisions too, I would think, because he's saying like, oh, you need to look physically attractive so that you can get people into Christianity. I'm assuming that whoever's getting into Christianity, like they're kind of making that decision right there in the moment, you know, based off of how someone else looks. It's weird.
That's not a good look.
No.
The saddest thing I see with Catholic men is when they have narrow shoulders. Guys, narrow shoulders are for liberals and men who do yoga. So this is how we're going to get big shoulders. And there's a secret ninja trick I want you guys to keep in mind. We're going to give off the illusion that we have bigger shoulders by developing our side delts. So we're going to do this with side lateral raises. Start with the weights angled in front of you. Lift with your elbows. Hold at the top for 1 second and slowly let down. Do this for 12 to 15 reps and blow up your side delts.
I mean, I really don't understand that giving the illusion that you have big shoulders than just like teaching men how to get big shoulders.
I mean, it does.
I don't really get that.
It does come off like this is about vanity. It's not about even being strong or healthy.
Yeah, it's just about looking a certain way.
Yeah. I like that he's equating Catholicism and Christianity as a whole with not being a liberal, and how the enemies of Christendom are basically liberals who are all physically weak. I mean, it's just, you see this whole narrative encapsulated in this one sentence.
Yeah.
That, okay, if you are a Christian, you should be this large, physically intimidating, masculine man, and that means that you're good. And you can tell that somebody's a bad person if they're small and weak. And because as we know, Jesus said that the meek are liberals and men who do yoga, and we should, spit in their eye, right? That's what Jesus said.
Yoga, requires a lot of strength, too. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, strength that you get from evil Eastern spirits.
I will say, though, that I think that he's partially joking in this reel, because I've seen a number of his reels that are in this same format. He'll say the saddest thing he sees with Catholic men, and then he'll, say something.
Small muscles.
Yeah, small muscles, basically. So, and there's this one where I can't remember what it was he said, but it was something along those lines, and then he was kind of laughing at the end of it. And so it was clear that it's kind of a joke.
Yeah, it's tongue-in-cheek.
It's tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, he is serious about it in a way, because his entire job is helping Catholic men be more muscular.
Yeah.
So I think this is done to kind of get clicks and views, because it is a very captivating
sensational
thing. Yeah, sensational thing to say. So, but I think that's why he says it the way he does.
And you pointed out something that I think that we should make sure and point out. All of this, whether he's telling a joke, whether he's saying something really seriously about making converts, we have to point out that he is using fitness as a vehicle to make converts, but much more importantly, he is using Christianity to sell the fact that he has services available for anybody who wants to take up, the gym and want to have him as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
He is trying to make money off of this evangelistic thing, which, as far as I understand, in the Catholic Church is considered heretical.
Right.
I mean, I would just say that it's weird and not a good look, but I think that it's actually officially some kind of heresy in the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah, and it's weird because he does get a lot of criticism. I've noticed in his comments, people will tell him, like he said in this reel, that he's being vain, or that he cares way too much about looks, and that obviously this isn't the most important thing for Catholic men.
Yeah.
But I don't see anyone calling him out for putting on the Christian show for money. I don't see anyone critiquing him for that, because I think it's kind of, in this age of social media, I think it's become this normal thing for Christian influencers to use Christianity to try to profit and try to generate likes and, to promote their courses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've seen countless Christian influencers that do that. I mean, Ashley Hetherington,
Mark Driscoll, Sean McDowell, Frank Turek, people who they're really Christians. I really believe them. They're not being insincere, but this is kind of a marketing gimmick. It seems like.
Yeah, it's definitely marketing for sure.
I've always found it interesting. The first thing that comes out of people's mouth when they miss a lift is the name of Jesus Christ as a cuss word. Now, you will never catch someone using the names Muhammad, Pope Francis, Buddha, Allah, Joseph Smith, Charles Darwin. You will never catch anyone using their names as a cuss word because they're all false gods. Most of the people who do this are self-proclaiming atheists or say that all religions lead to the same thing. What you don't realize is every time you use the Lord's name in a profane manner, you're acknowledging his existence and you're proving that he is the only way, the only truth, and the only way to the Father. I say this out of love. It does not matter if you're atheist, if you're Jewish, if you're Islamic, agnostic, whatever. You will not be any of those things the second after you die, because you're going to come face to face with Jesus on Judgment Day, and you're going to realize that you spent your whole life denying and mocking the one man who could have saved you from burning in hell for all of eternity. Just something to think about.
You use fear tactics in your social media for clicks and money. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I there's so much to address in this one reel. And yeah, it is like she kind of ends the whole thing with this big like fear mongering, like you're gonna burn forever, and then she's like, just something to think about, teehee.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not cute. Like what you did just now is not cute.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah. Before we get too far into the weeds, I want to say that she said that Charles Darwin is a false god. I just thought that was really funny.
Well, that's probably because she's under the impression that all atheists like love Charles Darwin and that he's really their god because all atheists are actually really religious.
Yeah, and that like evolution is a religious belief system that for atheists, basically the whole Kent Hovind thing.
Yeah.
Evolution.
Okay, so let's just start with the main thing that she's saying here, which is that if you use Jesus Christ in a profane way, if you use that as a cuss word, then that means that you're proclaiming, or on some level at least believe, that Jesus Christ is the true God.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, why? Why does that mean that?
Yeah.
You know? And I think obviously a lot of people, especially in the West and the US, do use Jesus Christ as a cuss word. But that's because the majority of the people in America, like Christianity is the predominant religion here.
Yeah.
And words and names can change and morph and evolve over time. Obviously, this word started out to refer to Jesus, the Jesus of the Bible, but it's kind of evolved into being used as a cuss word.
Yeah, it's just like an expletive, like you would say, like, oh no, or
and it's
oh
an
god.
Expletive specifically in countries that are English speaking where Christianity is the dominant religion.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm not completely sure in other countries and other belief systems if people really use like deities as like if they ever use that as a profanity. I'm not completely sure.
Yeah.
But I could say like Allah damn it if I wanted to. I don't think people really say that, but I could say that. Does that mean that I'm now like proving Allah's existence merely because I said that?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how this works at all.
Right. To me, it sounds like she has this spiritual warfare mindset that we've had before where she takes anything, any data point and fits it into this narrative somehow.
Yeah.
So it's like she thinks that the ultimate goal of the enemy, which is literally an evil monster that lives deep in a hole somewhere, the devil, is taking control of people or influencing people to profane Jesus. That's his ultimate goal. That's what he's done with our language. That's a big narrative, and she's fit this into that somehow.
Yeah.
But that does not actually mean that there's a connection there. Like you're pointing out, there's more you have to do to demonstrate that this is somehow involved with supreme demonic evil.
Yeah.
Show me how people are being influenced to say this somehow. But she's not going to, because that's all you do. You just connect it, and that's it.
I think that we can just do like Occam's razor on this. The simplest explanation is probably the explanation. Yeah. This word has just evolved to have another meaning now.
Like Every word does.
Yeah, and I think that explanation explains it better than like this grand like supernatural battle.
Exactly.
Also, she was talking about how a lot of this comes from self-proclaimed atheists, which I'm pretty sure that a lot of people use Jesus Christ as a cuss word, not just atheists.
Yeah.
I think considering atheism is still a minority religious group, that's kind of how it's referred to.
Yeah.
In the US, it's probably more likely that a majority of Christians, since Christianity is the predominant religion in the US, are using Jesus Christ as a cuss word.
Right.
Okay, so this next one that we're going to react to, we've actually reacted to a reel from this account before.
Okay.
It's a Christian activewear brand called Jezer Activewear. Yeah, so we've actually responded to this lady. This lady is the one who like founded this activewear brand.
3 reasons why every Christian should work out at the gym. First, our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, which means we should treat it well through our workouts. Next, we are called to be ambassadors for Christ, and we can do that by boldly wearing our faith on our apparel. Lastly, the Bible tells us to discipline our body, and we can do that through consistency at the gym.
So the first thing that jumps out at me is that those 3 verses that she used as reasons that Christians need to work out at the gym, what in any of those verses say that you need to go to the gym?
Yeah, I was wondering about the emphasis on the gym too, because you can exercise outside of that. So
yeah, because treating your body like a temple and being disciplined, there's things that you could do, like going for a run or working out in your apartment, or things that are active that aren't involving the gym. So I'm not really sure why. Well, I know why.
Yeah, I was going to say, we know why.
She's saying
why?
that...
Why do they have to go to the gym, not go for a run?
I mean, obviously, because she sells gym wear.
Yeah.
So she's giving reasons and citing scripture in order to get people to buy her gym wear.
Exactly.
That's why.
Right.
And this is a huge problem that I have with Christian influencers that do this, because it's not just that you should buy their activewear to have like cute clothes that you wear to the gym. You need to buy it because the God of the universe is telling you that you need to buy it.
Yeah.
So I find it actually very, very unethical when
Yeah.
Christian influencers do stuff like this.
Again, isn't this some kind of heresy? I mean, I don't care whether or not
I don't know.
heresy is not a relevant factor in our moral system. We don't like this for other reasons.
Yeah.
But
We're doing an internal critique.
yeah, but yeah, isn't this a problem within a Christian paradigm? Like, you should not be using the gospel to make money. If you're a missionary and you're spreading the gospel and you have to have, support monetarily so that you can live somewhere, like food and shelter.
Yeah, basic needs
Fine.
covered.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the Apostle Paul even talks about that. But making money by selling gym products, I really don't feel like that's sanctified.
Yeah. Another thing I want to point out, and this is something that we talked about last time we reacted to this brand, is that I just find it really interesting how the discussion around modesty has changed a lot when it comes to what's okay for Christians to wear.
Yeah.
Because this type of apparel, the crop top with the super skin tight leggings where you can see her entire outline of her butt, like that back in my day would not be okay. That would not be considered modest.
This was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, like this
Not
wasn't
long
that
ago.
long ago. I mean, not even that long ago. I feel like it was even like 4 or 5 years ago, something like this would, like, by most evangelicals, not be considered to be okay.
Yeah.
But now there seems to be this shift, which I think is naturally going to happen. I think as society progresses, we've seen this, Christianity progresses along with it, just on a delay.
Yeah.
But I think also social media has impacted that too, because they want to sell stuff. They want to be relevant. So they're going to keep up with the times even more than they might have in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And while that's happening, I think people will deny, oh, no. We're not bending with the world. We're not changing with the world. This was always theologically acceptable. And just to clarify, I think we should say we don't have a problem with what she's wearing.
No, not at all.
She could dress less modestly or whatever that even means, and we wouldn't care.
Yeah, we don't consider modesty. That's not something that we care about.
She shouldn't be ashamed of like wearing that or something like that. We're just saying it is very interesting to see Christian standards evolve like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it's just very interesting.
I'm going to say it again, so don't say nobody ever told you. 1, Jesus Christ is real and he is returning. Don't say nobody ever told you. You can't play stupid when it happens. Number 2, if you quit jiu-jitsu, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Every single person I've met that quit jiu-jitsu regrets it. Cool? Yes, 1, 2, 3.
Number 1, here's something that's ultimately significant that you have to remember because it's a sacred truth. Number 2, just as importantly, keep paying me to teach you stuff.
I'm like, I'm sure that there are people out there that have quit jiu-jitsu and have been like, yeah, that was a great decision. I didn't want to do that shit. Also, this guy's in the U.S. He's probably talking to people that are already Christian. And he's like, oh, if no one's told you yet, like, you can only get to heaven through Jesus Christ. It's like, they've probably heard this a million times. You're not telling them new information.
Right.
You're not saving any souls here.
Holy shit. This has 108,000 likes.
Oh my God.
What? How? How is this that moving?
I don't know. I am always surprised by the things that have likes on Instagram because I'm like, I don't understand why people like this. But this guy's also running for governor in Maryland.
Oh, cool.
And I was looking at his profile. Let me just pull up my notes. Okay, yeah. So I was checking out his profile and he... Like I said, he's running for governor in Maryland, and he calls himself a follower of Yahusha.
Okay.
Which I had never heard that pronunciation or it's spelled that way.
Yeah,
Yeshua.
Like,
Yeshua. But Yahusha, I've never heard that. So I did some reading, and apparently there are people who believe that Yahusha is the proper name for Jesus and that Yeshua is incorrect because they want to, like, they think like Yeshua is taking the emphasis out of the Yah part, which is supposed to be for God.
Okay.
And they want to put that emphasis back on the Yah part, like Yahweh, and so they call it Yahusha or Yahushua. But apparently biblical scholars say that there's absolutely, or they claim that this was originally what Jesus's name was.
Okay.
This was the original pronunciation, and it's been like altered since.
Okay.
And so they're trying to go back to the original pronunciation. And apparently biblical scholars say that there's absolutely no evidence that Yahushua is the correct pronunciation and that it really is Yeshua. I just thought that was really interesting because I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like one of those Christian conspiracy theory type things where they're like, we're the original Christianity, and biblical scholars are like, no, you're not.
And it's like people grasp onto these very minute details about names and definitions of words in the Bible and, other languages and this and that. And I feel like it's a way to like signal how knowledgeable they are.
Yeah, when I think it's really that they don't know how to vet their sources.
Yeah.
It's like you just see something on the internet and you think you just take it for what it is and think it's true.
Yeah.
When it actually like has no backing to it.
I would be absolutely enthused to have this guy as a teacher. I'm sure that all the information I would learn from him would be just top-notch, top-tier quality. I would not be learning conspiracies while I'm in a vulnerable state after an incredibly intense workout, and he's my instructor.
Okay, so to close out, I do want to have like a small discussion on why this content like this is getting so popular, because I think we've seen kind of an increase in this type of thing a lot recently. And my theory for it is I think Christian content is kind of already intertwined with motivational content.
Yeah.
They already have a connection there.
Right.
And I think that it's also kind of easy content because all you really have to do is film yourself doing a workout, which I will say that the workout part of it is not easy. I do want to give credit where credit's due. That's really, really difficult for them to do. But the content itself is pretty easy because you can just film that and then like put some sort of motivational Christian word salad on top of it and just make it this like motivational type thing. And it seems to get a lot of views.
Yeah.
Like this guy, this last one that we just watched, he's not really saying anything, and yet this has like over 100,000 views. Like all
100,000 likes. It's got to have like over 1 million views.
Yeah. I mean, all he's saying is that you need to follow Jesus. Everyone's heard that already.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, you're gonna like regret quitting jujitsu." Like he's not really saying anything.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just
taking an existing template of content that is proven to work outside of Christianity. And like you said, sacralizing it in a way, right?
Yeah. So what did we learn from this?
We learned that with God, not only are all things possible, but there's a special emphasis on you getting hotter if you believe in God.
We learned that if you watch Pornhub, then you're going to be a scrawny little liberal.
There are verses in the Bible that should motivate someone to buy a very specific brand of activewear and show it to all their friends and spread it by word of mouth.
We learned that if you quit jiu-jitsu, you're definitely going to regret it. Don't.
You might even burn in hell. Like, we learned that every time I stub my toe or my computer crashes when I'm editing, I actually prove the existence of the one true God. Jesus Christ!
Thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to check out the sponsor of today's video, Scentbird, and use my code TheAntibot to get 55% off. A huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_Antibot. And if you'd like to consider supporting this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and we'll see you all in the next one. Say bye!